The 90s
We're-
mode.
Ooh, here we are live again. It's Friday. Hooah! Hope you're doing well. Hope everyone is enjoying this nice East Coast weather.
Oh, it's going to be
yeah.
80 today, right?
Oh,
It's
God.
nice.
Yeah. No, it's nice. It's nice, Joe.
Not a fan.
Anyway,
But
we're kind of jumping in as always. We're cracking on our man Joseph Mark, the 80-year-old, 30-something, 40-something.
the state of his camera is...
He is always making life more difficult than it needs to be.
yeah.
But we have an interesting one for you. This is we're going to kind of go back to our roots,
Yeah, this is
literally,
gonna be a fun one.
and figuratively. And we're going to kind of like retrace the 90s, the early 2000s. Maybe someone will have a question from the 80s since we were born, I think all of us in the 80s.
Yeah.
But this is going to be our nostalgia episode. And I know that Joseph Mark and Bobby Ye have kind of prepared some questions to kind of help us get back into that time machine and retrod those childhood memories.
Yeah.
I know that Joe's kind of got more of the serious approach because he's a serious man, and we got Bobby A who has more of the fun approach. So
It's going to be a good one.
it should be interesting.
Oh,
For
the
those
doggo
of you,
just walked in.
oh, that was a ghost. For those listening who are not, of the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, I'm sorry if you were just a glimmer in your mother and father's eye.
You missed
then
out.
I mean, you'll have your own nostalgia at some point in life.
Yeah.
But some of these movies, maybe you've seen them on Netflix. You call them oldies, we call them precious childhood memories
It shaped
um,
us. Yeah.
that
Like
have
Joe
shaped
said.
us. There, you can look at Bobby A's attire. This is probably shaped by some
Roxy, baby.
movie, television
And-
show, video game. But who are we
Yeah.
going to kick it off with? Are we going to start with the serious, or are we going to start with the comedy? I'm going to throw it at you, Joseph, and you can kind of point us in the right direction.
I wanted to start off with what were our thoughts on nostalgia 10 years ago? Because we're in our late 30s now. I'm 41.
Oh my goodness
Yeah,
gracious!
I know.
You crossed the line, Joe.
Yep.
It's done.
His life has jumped the shark.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm kidding. I'm
Every
kidding.
second of it too.
I'm teasing. Go ahead. Keep going.
But I had radically different thoughts about nostalgia 10 years ago. I would It's not something I was thinking about. And I'm curious to see what you guys think about nostalgia and when did that light switch turn on for you?
Okay, before we get into that, like nostalgia, I just want to make sure I even am not being a fool and I actually understand the words. When I think of nostalgia, I think of fondly looking back to an earlier day. Is that would be that fair? So we're all in that's what we're all thinking for that word?
I
Yes.
think, yes.
Okay, good. Go ahead. I'm going to throw it. Bobby, why don't you answer that question first?
So I think it's placing yourself back in the day in your brain, where I mean we could get psychological with it, which is what I want to do, and it puts you in it elevates your mood when you're thinking about things that happened to you or that you experienced when you were a child and you were younger. So that's when nostalgia means to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think
In a good way.
I think it's at least for that word, I think of it as sorry, you might hear the faint cat sound. I thought I heard a cat in the distance.
Wait. You have a cat and a dog?
2 cats and a dog.
What in the hell is going on here?
Mad
Close the
pets
door.
in that gaff. Wow. Yeah.
Doc,
No,
Dr.
I like
Dolittle.
I like yeah. I
What'd you
love
say?
dogs. Cats are cool too. I like cats. That's
I mean, I like dogs. Cats
cats are
cats
I mean,
are roommates.
Dogs are better.
Dogs are your man's best friend.
Yeah,
Cats
they're
would
your
eat
friend.
You,
Yeah.
eat you when you die. Dog will feel bad about it. He might wait a
Yeah.
while. He might do it, but
Yeah.
eventually he's gonna cry as he eats you. Okay, so for me to that question, so one, I'm not like super nostalgic, but I'll catch myself from time to time. I think as I've gotten older, like I'll put it this way, and maybe this kind of answers the question. Like I find it rare that I'm watching new television programs,
It's a good point.
and I find myself retrotting like old shows from like early 2000s, mid 2000s, like even shows that are like not even of my generation, but like I kind of like can't enjoy some of the new stuff that's coming out. Like I don't even know why that is. Maybe it's because I feel like it's maybe more too political, or I can like see that they're trying to like sell me on something. So like I find myself going and watching like Parks and Recreation or a sitcom from like the
It's a great
early
show.
mid 2000s, over and like retrotting that, like visiting an old friend rather than like, okay, I'm gonna go watch something new. So I've even with movies, I'll find myself going back and like watching the Matrix, the first Matrix, or like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles,
It's a
like
sick movie.
from like early, like late 90s.
1990.
Okay. Oh damn.
Oh, the live action one.
Yeah, the live action one.
Yeah.
Or
That film is darker than people
The
think
first
it is.
the first
Yeah.
one. Yep.
It's awesome.
The original one.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I find myself doing that. I think maybe I'll do it. I would assume I'll do it more as I get older. Oh damn. But yeah, that's my thought.
No, leave him. He's a guest.
She's gonna start
Oh,
barking like
it's
crazy.
she. It's a she.
But keep
What's
going.
What's her name again?
Let me introduce you. Come
Yeah.
here. Come here. The name's
Yeah.
Harry. I call her Harry, but she was pre-named Harriet. It's a long dog's
Harriet
name.
is a sick name. Well, nice. Yeah.
All right, I'm in my underwear, so I'm gonna turn the camera off for a second.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, we just have a new moment on the Draxx Life.
Yes, we have.
There you go. Okay, I'm back.
Chris Corvo spared us his boxers.
Yeah, man. Gotta treat you guys with kindness.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
But yeah, that's kind of my take when it comes to nostalgia. Like I'll find myself kind of like, I don't know, like an old friend. I'm like, I'll go watch. I've watched Parks and Rec the seasons multiple times,
It's a
end
great
to
show.
end.
Great
And
show.
I'll find myself going back and being like, I just want to go re-watch these characters. There's something like pure about them, to me at least.
Yeah, Joe, what do you think about that? I think that show. I like that you brought that show up for a couple of reasons. That's the best network comedy, in my opinion, that has ever existed in our adult lifetime. When I was a child, I would say Seinfeld, and maybe Curb. I'm not counting Curb because it's cable. I'm talking about network. That's the best network comedy that's existed since we've been adults.
I mean, I find a lot of those. I do think like that there was like for me a sweet spot like early 2000s to like maybe 2000 to like 2012, where I feel like the sitcom definitely kind of there was a resurgence, and like at least for me, like that's where I'll date myself, where I'll start to like I'll go back and I'll watch like New Girl, or I'll watch like Parks and Rec. I mean, I like him. I mean, and I find there's a lot. I think there was a lot of sitcoms at that time that I enjoy.
Did you like The Office at all?
I
I
got
was
into
never
The
an Office
Office
guy.
late.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever watched it end to end.
I've never watched a single episode.
So I've never watched Parks and Rec or The Office. I'm curious why there's like a
same writers.
No,
though.
but a lot of people like one and not the other. It's just that's kind of weird to me.
It's true because that's me. I love Parks and Rec. I've never watched The Office ever.
I think The Office is more of a like it's like it's like Seinfeld. Like not everyone likes Seinfeld. It had like a unique humor, and I think like some people really like that just like hit them, and like that's their humor, so they really like Seinfeld. And then other people watch Seinfeld and they're like, I don't see why anyone would like this. Like the characters are not great. I mean, it's kind of like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Some people love that show.
I love that show.
And some people just think like
Fantastic.
This is the worst. Like these people are horrible. So like I guess
that's the point though.
I think it's like for some people they'll get the humor out of that, and for others they're like, this is detestable. I have no desire to watch this. So I don't know. I feel like it's kind of similar in that respect.
Yeah, so yeah, like I think that's what all three of us are talking about is the emotion that nostalgia brings to you.
Yeah.
It's a great feeling to have. It's almost like a dopamine release. When I see something that reminds me of when I could, and I can place you can actually place yourself in the story. So when I was in 5th grade at this time, I was doing this, and then I remember watching this, or I remember this song playing. It brings up, it conjures, it's the right word. It conjures a good feeling. So
Yeah, no, I
that's
completely
what
agree with
nostalgia
that.
is.
Yeah. Well, and also like it takes you back to maybe a younger, more innocent version of yourself. So like
Mm-hmm.
I think for a lot of that that's the same. Like for me, like even cartoons, like the Batman cartoon. Remember like back in the day we had WWB, the WB, and it had like 30-minute Batman episode and then back to back with like a Superman episode.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved Batman. I watched that, and like if I see that, because now you can find like on like online, you can
I
find the old
have it.
Batman.
Yeah.
I mean, I enjoy it now still for the story, but also like I think part of me remembers being like a little innocent kid with like his whole life ahead of him, and like this connects me to that
Yeah,
feeling.
yeah, exactly.
But yeah. So that's to answer your question, Joe. I think that's for me. What about for you, Joe?
For me, 10 years ago, I thought nostalgia was a kind of a crutch. I always thought that why would I want to look back on something when I can live in a now? And so that's something that I always had this idea. I thought, okay, my 31-year-old self, it's not something I want to do. I don't want to look back on my life. I want to kind of look at now,
Yeah.
maybe look a little forward. It was up until the like spring 2020, like the pandemic. Once that hit, and I had time to just kind of decompress and kind of search for things that I haven't searched before and see things that I haven't seen in a while. Also, the Last
Mhm.
Dance on Netflix, when that came out, that kind of gave me this huge rush of nostalgia. Like
Is
seeing,
that the Michael Jordan
yep,
documentary? Okay.
seeing
Yeah.
the 90's Bulls and how that
Interesting.
Yeah.
made you feel. Like it made you it it took you back in time to like that time in the like mid 90's where there was, like you said,
It's the best.
Seinfeld. There's certain music coming on.
Hmm.
Just it was like a portal in time, and just having the amount of time to digest all that stuff really made me change my perception on nostalgia. And
Mm.
I now saw it as a thing to embrace,
Hmm.
and and also me becoming older. I see now it as we look back on times when we think things were simpler, and it probably was, most likely was, but it was there was still issues back then.
Mm.
But even with those issues, I think being able to look back on times more fondly, it gives you a bit more
Yeah.
peace that I feel like living in a now kind of doesn't give us that chance to do, especially when you live in the rat race of a New York or a Philadelphia or wherever you might be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
that's actually interesting. I wouldn't have. I guess it's like interesting when you hear about someone else's perspective on life. I never would have thought that you, because I've known you far before the pandemic. I didn't know that you were like I didn't realize there was that shift. I always thought you were kind of like enjoyed listening to the music of like an earlier day. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
realize that you were so kind of focused for the future, and that COVID and the tail end of COVID was kind of the shift where you were like, started to go back to old music that you used to listen to, or old shows, or recalling sports teams that you liked and the players of the past. So I didn't realize that a shift had taken place for you.
It certainly had. And
It's interesting.
I mean, I've always appreciated like mid to late 80's, early 90's, actually just anything 90's music.
Hmm.
But I didn't use it as my crutch. That's not something I would always listen to. I would try to listen to whatever was current at the time.
Yeah.
And that the pandemic hitting made me, because there wasn't content coming out, because people were kind of uh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
inside and
You
not
couldn't
doing
do it.
much.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, including myself, look back, and I dove so much into like 80s music back then in like 2020. It was I'm glad I did, but it's something
Good.
I feel like I didn't do prior to.
Interesting. So here, let me ask before we move to the next question. I'll throw a question. So you know, like you see it in movies and TV, and like you have your parents, and it's like your parents and your grandparents like listen to the music of their day, right? Like
Hmm.
your parents,
That's another part too.
right? Even now,
Yeah.
might put on something from when they were in their 20s, right?
Hmm.
Do
Hmm.
you think that like is nostalgia the right is that the reason why they listen to that music, or is it the fact that like your tastes kind of get kind of locked into a certain time period, and it's like seeing an old
It's a
man
good question.
dressing like
Yeah.
in New York, because you can people watch, right? You might find a guy at the Apple store, for example, who 80-year-old man, and he's dressing like he dressed when he was like 30, right? He's wearing like a kind of an old fashioned suit, like he got in his mind he's kind of locked in to like at a certain age and a certain time. So like, do you think that's like nostalgia, or do you think it's just like it's challenging to
Just
continue
habit.
to adapt, and you just kind of
Yeah.
for people like there's a certain point where you're just like, I'm locked in. I'm not gonna like evolve anymore. Does that make sense?
That's a
Yeah.
good no, that's a very good question. Is it something that you look back on, or is it something that you're locked into? That's a good guess. So what I would say is I would objectively say, and I think no one I don't think you can debate this, that because we'll get into the more fun questions later. Like everyone always says, like, "Oh, what TV did you like? What
Yeah.
music did you like? Whatever." Music was objectively better in the 80s and 90s. E- Easily.
I love when people do that. They're like, I don't have the
It
information,
was.
but
No,
100%
I have
truthfully,
the
it was
information.
it.
I've tried. I have the information.
Uh,
I've listened to it. I'm out in the world listening to all the music
He's
now.
like, I've done it, man. I
It's
put in my
shit.
10,000 hours.
Yeah,
But go ahead. Yeah, keep going.
the new music now is shit. Let's just have it right.
But like, would you say like so? Like, take your parents, right? So your grandparents are locked. They probably still would, if they're around, God willing. They're listening to music from the 50s, right? Whereas
Mhm.
your parents might be listening to music in the 70s.
Yeah,
Your grandparents are like, I can't imagine listening to music in the 70s. Like that's hippie music. And
yeah.
then like your parents, like, I'm not listening. That's like old fashioned. So like to us, they're all both old fashioned, but like to them, they're locked in. Like the music I like to listen to is the 50s, Frank Sinatra. Your parents, the music
The
they like,
crooners. Yeah.
yeah, what sounds good to them is like, I don't know, maybe the Beatles or Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
Like, is that subjective? Like, or you know what I mean? Like, why is it that way? Every generation is locked. Like when you're
I don't
70,
think that's
you
true
might be
though. I
listening to like
disagree.
music from the 80s and the 90s and thinking this is the better music.
Yeah, no, I disagree. Because my mother listens to Cardi B.
Oh God.
Oh, okay.
You see what I'm saying? Jennifer Lopez still listens to Jennifer Lopez. Doesn't just listen to like we're talking old school
Yeah.
salsa like Celia Cruz and Mark Anthony and all that. Yeah, definitely. Luis Miguel, my guy, That guy is sick. Um he's like a what's the he was born in Puerto Rico, but he identifies himself as Mexican.
I just never like. It's
Yeah.
funny
Whoa.
how I
Whoa.
working
He
with
grew up
you.
in Mexico, but
I
he's
never knew how
born
Puerto
moved.
Rican you were until like the last.
Yeah. Well, once I got back in,
I was gonna say
oh,
you've
baby.
definitely like in the Bronx. You
What?
shed your preppiness and went
Yeah,
full on.
I went.
When in Rome.
I got
But
full. Yeah, no,
go
no.
ahead,
You're
go
right.
ahead, go ahead.
You're right. That's why I told you in another episode where I said your South Jersey accent is more
Oh,
pronounced now,
oh God.
and now I'm way more Spanish than I was back when we were working together. Yeah, it's true. But
But go ahead,
uh,
go continue. So
so
okay,
no. But I disagree because
yeah, go ahead.
good music is good music. It's transcends. It's timeless. It doesn't matter if it's now or back then. But I would say when we were growing up, we were lucky to be in an age where during the 90s and especially the 80s, the 70s and 80s probably had the best music. Joe, what would you think? Joe
So
is the music guy.
I think there's a little bit of both. There's definitely, I think it slants more nostalgia than being locked in.
Mm.
I
Yeah,
think it's harder when you get older. It is harder to try to. You don't have enough time or the willpower to try to discover as much new music as you would
that's fair.
if you were
Yeah.
in your teens or your early 20s. So it's just very different. So that's how people get locked in. Then taste also kind of change over time. I feel like now music is a bit more raunchier, and there's
A
not
bit,
as
a bit, way more. Yeah.
but
Go ahead.
that's with the times though, because back when we were listening to music, it was raunchy then too, especially compared to the music before it. So things
True.
evolve,
Yeah.
but I think there's also the genres are there. There's not as many genre of music now as there were then. I feel like back in the 90s, I could listen to anything. I could listen to the Foo Fighters. I could listen to um, Will Smith. I could listen to like TLC or
Great
In
band.
Sync. I could
Okay.
listen to anything. And now everything is so kind of condensed into uh, uh, one or two genres that it's harder to try to find your voice really when it comes to music.
Interesting. So, like, what would you say
Mm.
now if we look at music? What would you say, like, the genres have become? Like, they've distilled into these two or three categories. What, in your opinion, like, what are those categories?
I feel like it's definitely dominated now by country, um, a little bit of pop, and this
And hip hop, I would say.
well, I would say like mumble rap, and a
Yeah,
lot of it
it
is
sucks.
kind of intertwined too. It's like the sounds kind of like a lot of the country sound kind of has a similar twinge to like the mumble rap in
Okay.
term. It's just
Yeah, I see what
It's
you're
like
saying.
consolidating it almost
Yeah.
yes,
into like one
and that was
one product with slightly different ingredients,
that was
different
the thing of the
flavors.
90s too, where the late 90s where you would see different genres kind of meld in together with hip hop and rock,
Mm.
and I think it's gone on steroids now, where it's kind of hard to decipher what is what genre is what, and there's just not as much selection. Everything is just everything
So
is
it's
just.
like formulaic, is what you're saying.
I mean,
Something like that. Manufactured.
it took me until the pandemic to realize it. A lot of it, even the stuff that we listen to, is formulaic.
Mm.
But it's once again, I think it's now on steroids, where all the songs have to be 2 minutes long instead of 3 or 4 minutes long because of
Mm-hmm.
Spotify. It it's definitely it's more enhanced now than it was
Yeah.
before. But yeah, I think being locked in is definitely a trait that you
That is a
see.
part of it. You're right, Chris. Yeah.
It's harder to try to discover more new music. It's a rarity where you find uh someone in their 50s or 60s listening to like a Cardi B.
Well, and that's probably a good thing. I don't know
It,
if
Mhm.
anyone should be listening to Cardi B. I can't say I've ever.
I
I
don't know
couldn't
about
tell
that.
you. I couldn't
She
tell
has
you.
some bangers, you know.
I don't think I could tell you a Cardi B song.
WAP, we can't
I
say it.
don't. We don't
Oh
listen to music,
God.
so um,
Whoa. Yeah. No, she does. I like Cardi B. She's from the Bronx.
Oh
Shout out.
God.
oh, there you go.
So,
Another funny thing too is a lot of the music that's put out now is kind of like a kind of homage to the music that we listen to. It is. And like if you look at it, every 10 or 15 years, there's like a turn
it's like
back into the
it's a cycle.
previous. Yes.
Yeah.
It happens because you have these kids that listen to the music and they want to be able to recreate what they loved.
So okay, so let me ask you, and then I want to kind of get back into. I don't want to go too far afield of our
Yeah.
nostalgia, but
Mhm.
like, do you think one benefit of like the internet and like streaming services is that like kids, because I think this is relatively new, like kids can rediscover like old stuff.
Yeah.
Like you'll see kids, like you talk to a 14, 15-year-old that watches Friends because it's like, and is deeply immersed in it because it's on Netflix, right? Even though that show was like I think early 2000s, like it kicked off, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like jokes that might have died because they were no one was watching them, they kind of like reabsorb. And I would think like music is kind of similar, like with Spotify and the YouTube, you might rediscover old music and like it gets a resurgence. Like we had this with our fashion episode, if you remember, like, you know, certain styles kind of like come right back into vogue.
Always.
They get
Mhm.
like rediscovered. Someone opens a magazine and like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then like lately you see the kids wearing like the not bell bottoms, but like, you know, the like
flare.
baggier-
the
The
flare.
flare,
I mean,
yeah,
that's
flare
like straight up
jeans.
from the
Ugh,
60s, right? Like,
God.
and now you see kids running around
That's a great point.
wearing the same. Someone rediscovered
like
it
the
and
late
started to.
90s like baggy flare jeans.
Yeah,
That's right.
it's
That's
kind of a
right.
crazy,
I
kind of a crazy thing.
That's actually written down because there's a couple of brands that we used to rock in the 90s, like Tommy Hilfiger's coming back, DKNY, Nautica. They're all coming back around. What's the other one? Perry Ellis. They're all coming back. Oh, I'm serious.
And it's,
Dude,
I mean,
yeah,
it's kind of interesting. That's
yeah,
like, to me, I find that kind of fascinating. Like,
yeah.
there's, to your point, I guess there's nostalgia. There's things that like we look back on fondly, and then when they come back, it's kind of like we like it because it also like
It
helps
reminds
remind
you.
us.
That's
But I
correct.
also think it's like I think you guys talked about this last week. Like there are, I guess, certain styles that like they've somehow are truly art, because no matter what generation, like people are gonna listen to Johnny Cash. People who are like 14 still
Forever,
find his
forever.
music like
Yeah.
truly artistic. So anyway, I don't know what else you guys got. I know you had a bunch of.
Yeah.
Throw a fun question out.
So
Yeah,
let's
kick 'em off,
go.
Robbie.
So let's go. What was your Saturday morning routine when you were a child in the 90s? What were the Corvo siblings doing on Saturday morning?
Saturday morning. Oh, okay. I mean, I think we were pretty much like 90s kids, man. It was
Yeah.
cartoons on Saturday.
Yeah.
Like,
it was
and all the
cartoon-
superhero cartoons were on Saturday.
Mhm.
So I think like I know at different times my dad tried to, get us to go do chores and stuff like that, which we did. I think all of us have probably done our chores.
Yeah.
But definitely I was watching X-Men on Saturdays.
Yep.
That was, and I think
That's
also
a good one.
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man was on Saturdays, X-Men was on Saturdays. All the superheroes. I was definitely like a superheroes kid. I was watching X-Men, Spider-Man, Superman, Justice League when that was on. Sonic I watched. I think that was also like a 90s thing.
I actually remember that one too.
Mhm.
Mega Man I watched.
Mega Man. Holy shit.
Mega Man
Um,
had an animated show.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. And it was
Oh, I
it
never
was
saw that. Yeah.
it was cool. It was cool.
Wow.
X-Men was my jam. I was a diehard fan of X-Men.
X-Men was sick.
X-Men
X-Men and
was
Batman
awesome.
Yeah.
And then Spider-Man I thought was just as good. I
Mhm.
really
I
liked
never
those.
watched that one.
So yeah, we were definitely like, cereal, watching cartoons in the family room,
You
like,
took the words out of my mouth.
right in
What-
front, like
what-
one TV, watching
Yeah.
it. I
yeah.
to this day remember the day that we got our first controller. And it wasn't even a fully remote controller. It had a cord that connected it to the TV,
Okay.
but you could hit buttons. I remember I was on a school trip. This must have been like the 90s. A school trip to Chuck E. Cheese's
Oh,
in New
God.
Jersey. It was raining. I came home.
See, this
and
is
this
the
thing
stories
was
that
there.
I love.
And I
love
was like,
Yeah.
to this day, I mean, I couldn't have been more than like 6, 7, 8 years old.
Yeah.
I remember that vividly. So yeah.
So
that
wait,
was,
so you took my next question. What was in the cereal cupboard when you went to the cereal?
Oh,
what were the
dude.
choices? What were
Okay,
the-
so here's
Yeah.
the thing. My
Yeah.
mom and dad were pretty like, my mom did not, we were not like a sweet cereal house.
you did in the sugar cereals? Yeah.
I
We
could
were
see that.
allowed to split them up. So like we'd have
Yeah.
maybe 2 sweet cereals and regular, like let's say like Cheerios, like Raisin Bran, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it was like when my mom got sweet cereals, like, Honey Nut Oats or like a Captain Crunch
Yeah.
or, Fruit. We were not really Fruit Loops, but
I
like
never really
Trix,
liked Fruit Loops. Yeah.
the peanut butter Captain Crunch, all that stuff. It was like, all right, you could do a half bowl with
Oh, you
that
had
and
to
a
mix
half
it. They made
bowl
you
of
mix
cereal.
it.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
Oh,
crazy.
Yeah.
I didn't know that they made you
Dude,
mix it.
That's
Wow.
another thing we talk about that in another episode, but I think that's definitely a 90s thing. Like I go grocery shopping, like think about all the sweet cereals. Like we had like what was a Cookie Crunch,
Cookie
which is
crisp.
straight
Cookie
up
crisp.
cookies in a bowl with milk.
Yep.
Insane.
Yep.
We
Cinnamon
had
Toast Crunch.
Cinnamon
Cin-
Toast Crunch, Cocoa
L-
Puffs,
No.
Lucky Charms.
Lucky
Oh,
Charms, Fruit
God.
Loops. Like
Ugh.
Yeah.
it was insane
So
what
bad for
our
you.
parents got convinced was a healthy option for children. It's
Yep.
insane. Because I think if you go to grocery stores now, like I don't think there's nearly as many of those options. And like I don't think they're as publicized as they used to be. Because they used to have commercials. There was
Yeah,
a Captain Crunch commercial.
I've never seen a Captain Crunch commercial. That's a good point. In years,
As
I
like
don't
as
think
an
I have.
adult,
Yeah.
I don't think so. Like so I don't know. That's definitely when I see those cereals, that's another nostalgic thing. I'm like, all right, that's like I remember being a kid
Yeah,
eating this stuff.
it is
Or
cool.
going to a friend's house who had sweet cereals and like me and my brother and sister just being like buck wild. Like,
Yeah.
give me the Captain Crunch. I'm mixing that with Cocoa Puffs and give me the cookies, man. Give me them over here.
That's
and,
crazy.
And let's not use milk. Let's use chocolate milk. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Like you went all in. We always had that one friend where you could just go wild
yeah.
in their house. I remember that.
Yeah, they're the ones that had like the frozen French toast like sticks. You know what I mean?
Oh
Like,
yeah, love those. I remember Burger King, the French toast sticks.
oh yeah.
Those were good. Those were
What the fuck?
banging, dude.
Oh yeah, dude. The breakfast at McDonald's is not, and Burger King, not bad.
It ain't
Good
bad.
for you. I'm not gonna say it's good for you.
It's
but
not
it
good
tastes
for you,
good.
but it tastes good. That's what
What
I
a-
always say. Anyone who says McDonald's doesn't taste good, you're lying. Is it good for you? Absolutely not.
No,
But
it tastes
It
delicious.
tastes good. It's delicious.
All
So
right, go ahead.
what was the Mark routine
Yeah,
on the
well-
weekends?
Very similar to Chris. I don't know, my brother and I, we would get up and watch like X-Men,
The same thing, yeah.
Batman, the animated series, Spider-Man.
Mhm.
Shit, I'm trying to remember if there was anything else besides those superhero movies. I know there were more. I feel like in the early 90s, there were probably a bit more, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Street Sharks.
Ghostbusters. I
Ghost-
used to DuckTales. I used to watch DuckTales.
Darkwing Duck.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
so good.
That's a good one too.
I know-
Inspector Gadget.
Ugh, Inspector Gadget.
Great theme song. Great
I
theme
watched
song.
it. Yep.
I think
Yeah.
a little later in the day, I personally like watched like This Week in Baseball. It's just cool to see like all those like players that I never really had a chance to watch actually just come out on screen and show themselves.
What was the Summer Sanders Ahmad Rashad, that basketball show?
Inside
That-
no, not inside the
it
NBA.
was
NBA. Fuck.
Joe knows what I'm talking about.
Yes.
So Chris, there was a similar twib that the This Week in Baseball show, but for basketball, and it had an Olympic
I
swimmer.
want to say it's NBA
Summer
Inside Stuff.
Inside stuff.
I
That's
think
it.
so.
Bingo.
It's like
That's it.
Hannah Storm and Ahmad Rashad.
Yep.
So did you
And-
guys watch a lot of, like, as kids, did you watch like a lot of sports stuff? Like, is that part of like
oh yeah.
your
Oh, yeah.
nostalgia? Like when you think back to like the 90s, early 2000s?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, what did you guys watch? I was never a sports guy.
Yeah, some of my best memories are attached to sports when I was a kid. Because my Saturday routine, I didn't watch. No wonder you guys like superhero stuff. I never watched
yeah.
any of that.
Yeah, me and Joe
I
are on
never
the same-
watched any of that.
We're on the same page.
But see,
like-
it's a different. Those are like different time sets though, because the cartoons were early in the morning, and then the
Yeah.
sports were little in the early afternoon. So it
That's
bled in for me.
Yeah, but for me, I was at practice or playing a game on Saturday morning when X-Men was on.
Okay.
I never in Spider-Man and all this bullshit. No, I'm not. I'm not trying to hate on it. It's probably-
oh, dude, man,
I do like Batman the animated series.
We're part of the majority, so we're,
yeah,
it's all
no,
right.
yeah. You guys are right. I'm the outlier. So I was playing during when those shows were on. But then when I got home, it was Inside Stuff. That's the one.
Mhm.
And then This Week in Baseball, and I did. There was probably like an NFL one that was
No,
catered to
not
kids.
that I can
There
think of.
wasn't.
Nope.
No.
Mm-mm.
All right.
But I think
No.
another thing to think of too, everything is so splintered now where you have to watch everything in all these different spots. As a kid back then in the 90s,
Oh yeah.
you were fed a certain thing, and that's what you had to watch. Like,
He had 12 episodes, 12 channels. You're like, we're
Yeah.
on Fox, we're on channel 4 or
Yep.
11 WB.
mm-hmm.
I think that was the only two channels I ever really like. Me,
And-
Sci-Fi Channel, when that eventually came around, channel 30.
It's just easy to digest
Yeah.
what was given out.
Yeah,
I can
that's
only
true.
imagine what kids like watch
Turning the
now.
knob. Yeah.
It's
Dude,
crazy.
These
so-
kids never turn the knob. I've turned knobs before.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
same here.
Yeah.
I guess that's another kind of interesting thing that's like, nostalgic in that, like, because there was limited options, everyone watched the same thing, so you could talk about things.
Yes.
Like I think for me, I think Game of Thrones was
That was
the
the last. Yep.
Yeah, that was the last show
Like Universal show.
where everyone was watching it. Remember,
Yeah.
because we all worked together at the same time when that show
Yeah.
was on, and literally, if you were next to anyone at the Apple Store, you might have nothing in common with them, but you could talk about Game of Thrones, and 90% of people would be down
That's
to
right.
talk about it. That's like, to me, I think that might be the last show.
What was that? That was very nostalgic too.
That was my
Video
Legend
game.
of
I know.
Zelda. Keep that in. Keep that in.
Oh, I'm not, dude. I'm not
That-
editing nothing. But I think that's like that was the last show that I think had
It's
that
the
broad
Legend of
appeal.
Zelda, the one.
Now it's like, you're right. Everyone's that's the ghost again. Everyone's siloed in their own, little universe, and it's like you have no idea what people are watching.
Yeah, no, it's the way I describe it is that was the last water cooler show.
Yeah.
Perfect example. Yeah.
That was the last one.
Started in 2008, I think, Game of Thrones. So
No, later.
later, like 2000. I could have
the-
sworn it's 2008,
2000.
2009, maybe.
I think it was 2010. I think the book came out. Let's look it up.
Okay.
I believe it.
That's
I
crazy if
believe it was
so-
2010.
So long ago.
That's 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's crazy that like
Fucking Benioff and Weiss. I can't stand them. I looked it up. Yeah, April 17th, 2011 was the premiere.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
Oh,
keep
man.
talking, folks.
But I saw I saw their name. He's trying to get the dog out. Yeah.
I'm just
Joe-
closing the door a little bit.
All right. So.
Yes, but there were a lot more water cooler stuff
Yeah.
back then. Like the
X-Files was water cooler.
Yeah.
Twin Peaks.
That was more
That was more niche. Actually,
Yeah, that was
more
gonna say, yeah.
eclectic.
I love that show.
No, but like, yeah, I mean, it's funny. Like I think Game of Thrones was like, yeah, I mean, True Detective was another one, right? I feel like
That's
True
a one-
Detective
That was
had
close.
like a pretty broad appeal, and I think that is kind of like, to me, that is a negative, because it was cool, like growing up where like you went and everyone saw the same movies. Like a good movie came out, everyone saw it.
Mhm.
A show was on, everyone was watching it.
Yeah.
And then you had plenty of like things to talk about, like that, the cultural aspect. But now, I mean, yeah, there's just so many shows. Like you could be watching, three people be watching 40 hours of TV a week. That's insane. And not watch the same thing.
and even
not
if
have
you
anything to talk
do
about.
watch the same thing, it's on a different timetable
True.
because it's not weekly. It's like this binge model. So
Yeah.
some people might binge the whole thing within like a weekend. Some people might watch it within like 2 or 3 months. So it's just different how people digest it.
Yeah, it is interesting. Like our stamina for like waiting, it's getting a little sexual. Like our ability to like, hold off.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist anymore, right? Because you used to wait a week for a show. Like you watched the show, it was on a certain day at a certain time. That was it. You watched it, or you recorded it on like a DVR at some point, and that was
There
it.
was no DVR. You had to do the VHS one.
Well,
Like
I mean,
the
that's if you
90s.
go back far.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
but by the Game of
2000s.
Thrones time, you could
Yeah.
record.
Oh
you
yeah,
could watch
yeah.
it later.
Fair.
But like, you couldn't watch the next episode. You're gonna wait, just like everyone else.
I kind of like that better because I like the week-long
Yeah.
conversation.
I mean, I don't put it this way. I don't like it.
I don't
but
like
it's
it
better.
Yeah, that's okay. I 100% agree.
All right,
Because like if I like a show, I'll binge it. But like then the show is done. If I had to wait a week, it's kind of like something like I don't want to do it, but it does make the experience more drawn out, more enjoyable. I have to 100%. Wait. I'm gonna replay the episode in my mind for like.
Or
the
you can rewatch the episode too.
Or rewatch it, like really process it. Yeah. Now it's like you watch it, and then you're on to like episode 5. You haven't even fully processed the first episode. It took them maybe 3 weeks to shoot that episode. You watched it, and then
I don't like the way TV is delivered now. It should be once a week. Yeah. So that's why I like the shows that are once a week. I need the tantalizing. I need to be. You need the foreplay. Come on,
dude. And also, you had 22 episode seasons.
Yeah,
I was thinking about this the other day. I was watching
like Law and Order. Yeah.
Oh exactly. God.
I mean, X-Files. X-Files was like however many seasons there were, and each season probably had like over 20 episodes because it was like that was the season. You watched it once a week. There was like 22 to 23 episode seasons. Now it's like even on TV, like actors getting paid way too much. They ain't working enough. Like they're doing like 15 episode seasons. That's insane. Yeah. For a 30-minute episode, 30-minute
I remember
TV show.
24, where you had like 24 episodes of serial content. Yep.
Yeah. Those people made their money, man. They worked for it. No, not anymore. Anyway.
All right. So this is another one. It ties in a little bit. What was your after-school routine when you got home in the 90s?
Dude, snacks.
See, that's what I'm saying. What's
snacks, dog? Like I'm
give me the snacks.
So in my house, we came home. My mom would stay at home, so she was there. So that was a good and a bad, right? Because it's going to limit what kind of snacks you try to make. So like I think when we came home, it's either like it could have been like peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It might have been depending on what kind of like chips and cookies there might have been. You're stealing some of those, and then as we got older. It's like I'm making a sandwich with deli meat. So like if my mom's not in the room, we're putting like a half a pound of like the best. I'll be honest with you, as a kid, the best was when your mom came home from the grocery store and then you just started shopping through all her groceries. You're like, I'm going to make something with that, make something with this, make something with that. My mom would be like, dude, do you realize how much deli meat costs? Me and my brother are making sandwiches that thick. Putting like
you finish
like
it all
2
in one
pieces
sandwich.
of meat, it'd be gone. You're like, but those, we were making sandwiches.
But what were you doing too? Like watching TV?
I probably was either watching TV because there would be because Batman and Superman was on after school.
That's when I watched it. I didn't watch it on Saturday.
I think it was after school only. So it was maybe like 4:30,
like 4:35,
something like that. And then it would be like play. Like I lived in a neighborhood. There were kids that were my same age. So we would
go outside.
Yeah, we're either doing like street hockey on rollerblades. We're doing football in the backyard, kickball, manhunt, stuff like that. So like I had kids in the area that I went to school with for years. So we're playing and, then it's like 5:30. It's time for dinner and then hanging out. Yeah. Homework.
Then you got to do homework.
Yeah,
exactly.
So that was kind of our routine.
I would say like junior high school. Me and my brother, we would go get like a bag of like $1.25 French fries.
Yeah,
I know. He would pour like hot sauce on that shit. I'm thinking, why would you do this?
That's not a bad idea.
I like that.
Hot sauce, no way.
Ketchup to cool it down. And a little hot sauce to cool it down. Spice.
Then both of us would sit down in front of the TV and watch Baywatch.
Baywatch.
Yeah.
All right.
Great show.
Yasmin Bleeth running in front of the TV.
I mean, that's a good aesthetics there.
I definitely know that your mom was not home.
By that time we were latchkey kids. So it was just me and my brother. I think my mom probably went to go pick up my sister. But we were latchkey kids, and we had the total run of the house. We would just get French fries from the Chinese store, then come back home, watch Baywatch, and maybe
So
those
Brooklyn.
same animated shows that that is definitely Brooklyn.
Like not going to
That's
McDonald's or Burger King. You're like, we get our chicken wings and our fries.
definitely-
You go to the Chinese food store.
Go to the Chinese spot. Yeah, the wings are fire at the Chinese spot. I'll tell
I
you
mean,
that
dude,
right
there's a
now.
lot of brothers that's where they get their chicken wings from. Let's be
That's what I'm
honest.
saying. Yeah, they're facts.
Let's
Facts.
be honest.
But yeah, Baywatch was our religion.
That's
Dude,
crazy.
Yep.
So let me ask you guys both a question, and then I know
Yeah.
Rob, I wanted to hear your after school. But
Yeah.
so I grew up in the suburbs. So we're taking a bus from school home, or depending on what age, I would ride my bike because elementary school was nearby. High school, we're taking a bus, and then late in high school, I had a car. But like for you guys, even your elementary school, like you're kind of in the city, you're urban. Like, how did that change things? Like for me, like I could walk to the McDonald's, but there was really not like other like places I could go. But like for you guys, even as like middle school, you could stop and get a $1 slice of pizza.
Garlic nuts.
Yeah, there's more stuff for you guys to do. So
Quarter water.
did you go home, or did you guys kind of like hang out, go to like local corner store? Or
We got into some mischief.
yeah,
We got into some mischief. Yeah, because I live
Yeah.
walking distance from the grade school. I walked home.
Yeah,
It's
in
like
the
a
Bronx.
15-minute Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
And so I would typically go to like the bodega, get like a Sour Patch Kids, get like a candy.
Little candy action. All right.
Yeah. Or if like one of the girls that had a crush on you wanted to go, you would go to the pizza joint. Jimmy's Pizza. Shout out Jimmy's Pizza on Unionport in the Bronx. They know. If you know, you know. Get a couple garlic nuts, split a
Ooh.
garlic nut, and maybe make out a little bit, and then you go home. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Not too crazy.
no, but that's like a whole different ball game.
Yeah,
'cause
but
it's
but to your point, everything was walking distance. I
Yeah.
could go, and Joe will know this because
It was a little different for me because in elementary school, my mom she would drive us to and from school. Yeah, it was up until junior high and high school. That's when we had our autonomy to become really like a latchkey kid.
Yeah,
But
interesting.
back then, it was really more just driving home, listening to like KTU or Z100, and then
C100,
getting
the radio.
Hot
then
90s,
getting
no Hot
home.
97 in your
My
car.
mom really didn't.
She
listen
didn't
to
like the lyrics.
that.
It's
The
it's a rap station.
The radio itself is like, that takes you back because
Yeah.
kids don't listen to radio anymore. Like my sister
No.
still listens to the radio when she's in the car. I'm just like, what are you doing? Like,
I listen to music. Yeah,
like why do you have the radio on? Like, download some music or like
Yeah.
log into Spotify or do something. But it's kind of funny. Like when we were kids, yeah, like Q102 was like a local station, and that was like alternative, like pop, hip hop, that kind of stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of funny. Like even like radio stations kind of bring you back because
Yep.
like kids
Yes, it does.
kids don't listen to radio.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, like if you tell someone what I even know the number 1035 KTU.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That was
Q102 was
So
102.
yeah, Chris, that was like the electro dance, like dance music, like club music
But-
station.
But for like the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Z100 was the
Pop.
poppy station. Hot 97, 97.1 was like the hip hop station. See,
So,
that's
Joe-
crazy that we know this. Yeah.
I mean, dude,
No one else knows this under the age of 30.
I mean, bro, I still know the channels on the TV. Like 7 is Fox,
Yeah.
11 was the WB, and then it was 4 at one point, right? Sci-Fi was 30. Like these are like ridiculous.
That's awesome that you know that, though.
I
Like,
mean, it's just like because you knew that. You're like, all right, put it on 30. I'm watching like, I don't know, Highlander or something. You know what I mean? Or
what's
like
the one with the
Farscape.
wormholes? The
Sliders.
sliders.
Right there, man. That was on 30.
I know he likes that show. Yeah,
I did, yeah. I think we talked about it.
I was more of a Quantum Leap Scott Bakula guy.
So you
Quantum
were like,
Leap. Holy
that's like your
shit.
dad's era.
Yeah, I was
Like,
gonna
you
say
were
like
kinda-
that's like late 80s.
Yeah, man. Quantum Leap was sick, man.
So Joe, give us another serious question.
Yeah.
What other ones did you prepare? I'm curious. I would like to hear us. One of your.
What what
Yeah, this is a
moment
good
kind
one.
of shaped your childhood?
Yeah, this is a good question. Um, for me, you want to talk about what do you want to talk about? Me as my personality, or like humor, or
Anything, whatever
anything?
comes up to your mind.
I remember a couple films affected me greatly. Batman, 1989 Batman, but I didn't watch it till I was in
Same.
the 90s.
Although for
Uh,
me, in
yeah,
'92, like Batman Returns, that one was like my wheelhouse.
yeah, yeah. No,
Strange ass movie.
Yeah, it was
and
strange.
Jurassic Park, 1993 Jurassic Park, original Jurassic. And then I think the two movies that affected me the most, which shaped my humor,
Here we go.
along with Seinfeld, um, Kramer, was Dumb and Dumber and Tommy Boy. Those are the two.
Interesting.
Those are the
Interesting.
two that, and I think they came out the same year. I think they both came out in 1994. If you look at all the movies that came out in 1994, it's crazy. Forrest Gump was also 1994.
I'm pulling up some movies now.
Yeah, go look up 1994 films.
I know
Goats.
for me, for like a movie that kind of affected me for sure was Terminator 2 Judgment Day.
That's a good one. That's a really
I
good one. Yeah.
As a kid, I never had this like perception of death. And them talking about like Judgment Day and then seeing Linda Hamilton and her vision of
I'll never the
grabbing
skeleton.
that gate. Yep.
Yeah.
Grabbing that gate and
I
then
know the
having
scene.
that nuclear explosion go off.
Yep.
And seeing the
I'll never
fire
forget that.
engulf everybody in that playground. That shocked the shit out of me. I was probably, what, 9 or 10?
You shouldn't be watching that movie.
I know,
if you're
it's
9.
true.
Yeah,
But I was scared as fuck for like the next like 2 years.
Yeah,
like,
I bet.
That definitely affected me, like for like a movie.
Music wise, I would say it was Wu-Tang Clan.
Holy shit!
And Biggie.
Yeah.
And Notorious B.I.G. Those two.
Damn, music. I don't know, man. I love
current events. The OJ trial. I remember.
Yeah,
it.
I remember that. I think that we might even have watched some of that in school.
What?
Or a part of it. I think
they put it on in school. Yeah,
I think the radio. I think the chase.
The
chase. I think that happened during the day, and
yes,
I'm pretty sure that they wheeled in a TV.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah, no, you're
I
right.
remember the chase because it was during the NBA Finals, and the Knicks were in the finals, and they interrupted the game for the O.J. Simpson Bronco chase.
Yes, the Rangers were also winning the Stanley Cup that same day.
So okay, so you asked like specifically
the last time we won
movies
before
and
the
stuff.
Internet. Yeah. But what about like events? I remember the OJ thing that was huge. I remember the first WTC incident
in '93.
Yeah, that one was crazy.
Wait, the what incident?
The first World Trade Center bombing.
Do you remember that, Chris?
No, I mean, because I didn't have any real connection to New York, so I don't remember.
Yeah. So there was someone let off like a pipe bomb
in the garage underground.
Yeah. What year was this?
93.
1993. Yeah.
Dude,
and I mean, obviously 2001 overshadowed that.
Yes.
But it was attacked before that.
I'm curious what your perspective is on 9/11, Chris, because were you in New York then? You probably weren't. Okay, so how was it for you?
Yeah, what happened to you on 9/11?
That was what,
2001.
2001.
How old was it? Oh, well, I mean, so that was another one where they wheeled in. So 2001, I graduated in 2004, so I was in high school. They wheeled in a TV.
That I could see.
So it was literally,
and it was early in the morning too.
Yeah, so I would imagine it was. I imagine it was very similar for a lot of people. So I know for myself. So I would have been probably a freshman in high school.
Wow.
And I think maybe it was homeroom, and or it was the first class of the day.
It was early in the morning.
Yeah. And then I think you saw like the teachers. I'm kind of vaguely remembering this. I remember them bringing in a TV or turning the TV on, because at that age, I mean, at high school they had TVs in all the classrooms,
roller
like,
carts. Yeah.
Yeah.
The OJ, they wheeled in a car. They wheeled in like a TV,
Yeah.
right? But I think by high school, like each room had TVs like mounted in the corner,
Okay.
like the big old TV, but like up in the corner.
Like bolted down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure that they put it on, and we left. Like that was school got canceled. Like I
Mhm.
think so. I think the teachers. You saw the teacher kind of like go off because I think like someone was going teacher to teacher and like telling them face to face. Because you got to think about like I don't even think we had smartphones. Like they had maybe
No, like flip phones.
Only
yeah,
flip
they had
phones.
phones, but like so I think they had phones in each classroom. So either the teacher got a call and then turned the TV on, or someone like an administrator went classroom to classroom and said like filled them in, and then we watched it, and I think school got canceled and we all went home. Because I mean, even where I'm at in New Jersey, there are people who I'm pretty sure like had parents that worked in
Mm-hmm.
the trade towers.
Yeah.
Like people commuted even from where I live in New Jersey into the city every day. So I think there were students who like they left because like their parents picked them up or a mom picked them up because one of their relatives or a father or a mother was in the city working, maybe working nearby. So even though we weren't in the city, it was still like real to a lot of people, like, and it affected people like tangibly, like they knew someone there or
I could see
a
that.
family member worked there. But yeah, I mean, afterwards though, like, I guess for me, like it probably, because I wasn't in the city and I didn't see anything, and also I didn't know, like I didn't personally have any
Mhm.
connection. I think it I fell probably back into like just
Your
life
normal
as
routine. Yeah.
yeah. It's like I would imagine like within a week, it was like not even something I really thought about daily.
And nor should you. I don't
Yeah,
think
I mean
a
I'm a
kid.
kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For my
Should be
parents,
burdened with
maybe.
that
I mean,
kind of thing.
obviously more, right? Because I didn't watch the news. Like at that age, I don't watch the news. I didn't watch the news till I was like in my 20s. I mean, at that point, you didn't watch cable, right? You're finding the news online.
Mhm.
So like, I think I was still in like a kind of a bubble, like my life, what I'm doing, and that's that.
Yeah. I'll never forget that day. Joe, I want to hear how yours was because mine was wildly different. Obviously, I'm in New York City.
Yeah, no,
Mhm.
I would think it would be.
So everyone's going nuts. I remember I was in health class and people come like you said, but people were running all
Yeah.
around the place because a lot of my friends and classmates had people that worked in the World Trade Center. So, and unfortunately, like rest well, like a lot of them perished in that. And I remember my mother picking me up, and then we so because my brother and I went to different high schools, so we had to go to two different schools to
Ah,
get
okay, I didn't know that.
to collect us. And then we went up to my the like the roof of the condominium building, the apartment building. I saw the second tower fall
Oh,
with
you
my own
watched
eyes.
it? That's crazy.
I saw
Yeah,
it
that's
happen.
crazy.
I mean, but this was before you could record anything. Like
Mhm.
if I had a phone, I mean, I don't even want that
No,
video
I wouldn't.
footage in my
Yeah.
phone anyway. But I saw it was smoking, and then I saw it like the collapse. I saw it happen live
That's crazy.
from
Yep.
the because you could see the twin towers if you went because my apartment building was there's so many floors.
Plus,
So
the
if you went
Bronx
to
is kind of high up
yeah
too, so you have a
yeah
vantage point over the
Easy,
city.
yeah.
I used to be able to see. I could see that like from my old house in the Bronx. I fucking wish we still had it, but you could see the Empire State Building. If you went up to the roof, you could see the Empire State Building. You could see the bridge, the Brooklyn Bridge.
That's
But
pretty cool.
like it's like a speck, but you could see it,
Yeah.
and you could see the twin towers. And I saw the second tower fall happen. I'll never
Yeah.
forget that. Like I could still replay it in my mind right now. I could still play it.
I mean, I would think that's something that won't fade away because it's
Yeah.
also such an epic, like, not even like loss of life. It's just like you're seeing like a massive structure.
Just yeah, I saw it.
Like you don't see that stuff every
It's
day.
Mhm.
unbelievable.
It's very
Yeah.
like yeah, you just don't see it every day. What about you, Joe? So you're
My
in
first,
Brooklyn.
yeah,
Yeah.
first day in college, and
Okay.
my first
So where were
class
you in
was
college?
I was in Brooklyn College,
Okay.
and
Nice.
I had
Brooklyn Heights.
no
Camden.
Midwood.
Oh, that's
So
Midwood. The
yeah, it's like
Midwood.
in like central Brooklyn,
Okay.
and you could still see the smoke from there too.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But my first class was the history of New York City class, which is even
Wow.
weirder. Yeah. So people thought it was like a regular like a personal plane that just happened to crash in, and then we started to get more word in terms of what was going on. So the next class I went to was I think it was like a recreation class. We went to the gym, or I went to the gym.
Yeah.
So then we saw the TV and we saw what was going on, thinking, okay, I
Yeah.
think I need to leave and need to pick up my sister, but the phones weren't working. It
That's
couldn't
true.
be, that was the weirdest part because I had a flip phone. And it's like my first phone period because I was in college now, and I had a flip
Yeah.
phone and I was trying to call my sister's school, which used to be my old high school, trying to figure out what's going on. Can I pick her up?
What do you mean the phones? Is it because they were just being overloaded with
Yep.
people making phone calls?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, okay, that's crazy. Yeah, how scary. So I guess that's another question. Like, because I was so far removed. I mean, did you guys feel? I think a lot of people that were adults at that time felt
Mhm.
like, are we under attack? Like, is this just like the first, the first shot, or like, like, is there someone coming, or did you feel like, yeah, like when did you realize this was like an attack and not
D-
like some just horrible freak
didn't really
accident?
think
No.
about that. I think at like my age, I was what 18. I did or 17, 18. I wasn't thinking about stuff like that. I was really just trying to think, okay, how can I just pick up my sister to make sure she's fine? But I wasn't
Yeah.
thinking, okay, this is an attack.
Yeah.
How
Okay.
is this going
I
to
wasn't
affect?
thinking about that
Yeah.
either. Yeah.
If I was like 30 or older, then that's something that would pop up in my mind. But I was just thinking, okay, let me get out of here. Let me just pick up my sister and just figure out what's going on from there.
That's the
Yeah.
dog. That's not. That's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah, I know. I figured it was a dog.
No, for anyone listening to,
Shit.
yeah, I
But
mean,
that's a good question about the aftermath. 'Cause
Yeah.
I feel like for like people in our age group, I don't think we fully comprehended what was to
I
come.
was too young.
Yeah.
no. Oh,
And
that's what I'm saying. Go ahead, Sergeant.
I know for me, I was just ready to really become like a adolescent, like to kind of quote unquote sow my oats. So I was really like a lot of stuff that shut up, Rob. You know what I mean? Like just to be, I didn't want to burden myself with the news events of the time. I just wanted to party, be with my friends,
Yeah, that's
enjoy,
fair. That's fair. You're in college, so
yeah,
that's fair.
enjoy culture, like music, art, music. I mean, movies, things like that. So I didn't really lock down into that stuff.
Well, no, I mean, I think I would imagine that's true of like the majority. This is actually is a fun question. We should ask as we go about our lives, like ask
Yeah.
people who are of a similar age, because I think that was most people. Like again, I wasn't watching the news, so like, right, we then went into Afghanistan, we went into Iraq. Like our parents, who are a lot of parents at that time, you watch the news at 5:30, or you watch the news, it
10
came
or
on,
11,
yeah.
yeah.
That whole those years are probably very different, right? They might have been like, oh like, I don't know if the draft was talked about, like, if that was something on the radar. Like, I don't
No.
know any of that stuff, like, because I just didn't care, right? I mean, not to be
Mm-hmm.
hard-hearted, it's just it didn't affect me, so I
Yeah.
was about my own life. Like, you're a freshman in college, I'm a freshman in high school. It's like a new journey, a new chapter. I really wasn't thinking
I
about
was
it,
in
but
high school too. Yeah.
right, but you're right. If you were in your 30s,
Young
like,
bucks.
or
Yeah.
you just were graduating college, you're like, whoa, what is the world that I'm like entering into? Um,
Yeah, it was scary. It was, but the one, I guess there's a silver lining if you can find one in that
Mhm.
tragedy. Is that was the time in New York where everyone was so cool with each other. Everyone was like,
Yeah. Yeah.
like New York. It kind of brought New York
Solidarity.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah, no matter your background, where you're from,
Yeah.
ethnicity, culture, everyone was together for. So that was the silver lining.
It is a shame that like it usually takes
Like a
like
big
a crisis for people to like bury the hatchet. I mean, like
Yeah.
it's unfortunate, right? Like when everything is good, then there's like politics. Like people are getting squabbling over
There's
like
red tape
these
everywhere.
little things, and then there's a crisis when you realize all that stuff doesn't really matter. Like life is what matters. So let's like as we start to we have a little more time, but let's throw it to a fun question since this went down a road I did not expect. Because again, like I don't.
No, but that was good. That's part of
Yeah.
that's part of our childhood.
Yeah, exactly. I forget that like 2001 was
Yeah, you can throw the comedy ones out like Lorena Bobbitt. I remember that being big.
part of our lives. Wait,
So, she's coming back up in the news now too.
How?
I don't know. There's some documentary. Yeah, and the Menendez brothers are everywhere too.
that's
I
true,
remember
yeah.
those guys.
Yep.
That was a big story.
I mean, dude, I'm trying to think. I'm not to be now that we're kind of going down this
Yeah.
morbid direction, but I mean, it's not nostalgia, but dude, Columbine. We were kids
that's a big
during
one
the
too.
first school shooting, and if you think about it now, people who are like young people, school shootings is like commonplace. Unfortunately,
That's
like it's not a new idea.
So bad.
But when we were kids, like that was, I think, a new idea. I think that was like relatively unheard of, and like that was I didn't think about it till this moment, but that was a part of our childhood. I think I was in. I don't even know what year that was. I wasn't in high school. I don't think
97,
No,
98,
it's
maybe.
way definitely. So was Oklahoma City too.
Oklahoma City, yeah.
Like
Yeah.
those were in the 90s as
because
well.
I remember. You know another thing. Again, I'm going down the morbid thing.
No,
You
we-
better pull yourself out.
You can pull us out, but
Yeah.
the last thing I want to bring up is like,
Yeah.
dude, I remember like being at a friend's house and someone. I think his mom had Oprah on because that was also early in the day.
Big
That was
show
at like
in the 90s.
that was at like 4 o'clock,
4:00.
4:30. Like so
Ricky Lake. Joe
yeah.
knows Ricky
Yeah,
Lake.
Ricky Lake,
let's
yeah,
say
yeah.
dad wasn't home, but maybe your mom was at home and they're watching Oprah, and kidnapping was also like became a thing when we were kids, where people started to like. And I remember Oprah had was talking about being kidnapped, and I was at a friend's house, and I started to get scared. I had to go home. I had to go down the street, and I'm like sprinting to get home because I'm thinking I'm gonna get kidnapped between like.
Because you watched Oprah.
Yeah, and like I remember during our childhood, like that's when mom started to get a little bit more like hesitant about like letting the kids out, because now kids are a little bit more under control. Like you can't really, like you hear they're not allowed. Like when we were kids, we ran around, we were in the woods, we played manhunt games at like all hours of the night, literally just wandering around, hiding under things.
I think it's
like,
better. I think it's better
Yeah.
for your
Yeah.
development.
But I do think at like the tail end of like when we were getting a little older, like that kind of like got to be careful, got to be trusted. Like people, like your kids are going to get snatched. I think that led into like the next generation not being able to like just run wild, and parents keeping their kids more at home, and where are you going? Okay, we need to be outside watching you. Whereas when we were kids, like it was pretty much at 5:30 we have dinner. Like be home by 5:30.
Yeah, correct.
It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
Yeah,
Right,
a lot of
yeah.
that kind of stuff.
Remember
that was all like
fucked up.
when we were kids.
That's
that
dark, man. That they
Now.
played that every night at 10 o'clock. They fucking played that. Sorry, they played that. Wow.
All right, let's pull out.
Let's get out. Let's get out of the darkness. But it is relevant. It is important. So what was like the weekend dinner? Like what was the family dinner where you would go out somewhere, not cooking? Like what was like the treat where the family would go out to eat dinner somewhere? What restaurant?
That's a good question.
For me, probably Junior's downtown Brooklyn.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that strawberry cheesecake was pretty damn good.
Was this a chain or what was this?
It's a famous
Cheesecake spot in downtown Brooklyn. They serve other food too. I think they have maybe one or two other places, maybe in Manhattan, but it's not really a chain.
Cool.
No, it's right across from Atlantic Terminal, right, Joe?
Yeah. like LIU, Long Island
A little bit.
University.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, like Long Island University. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So would you guys go into the city? Like, would your mom and dad be like, "Hey, we're gonna go get
No.
dinner, and we're going into Manhattan, or we're going"? You were
No,
That's
local
we-
still.
that's one regret that I had. I think because my father worked in the city so much, and
Yeah.
my mom hates just going into the madness of the city. As a kid, I didn't really have any of those. Oh, this wonder of going to the city, seeing all these things. It took me going into like college and being able to have some autonomy of my own to
Yeah.
really go out and do the things like taking your friends or family out to dinner in the city. So
Okay.
it just wasn't a thing for
So it
me.
wasn't a treat. It wasn't like part of your guys' life where it's like, "Hey, kids, we're gonna go into the city to get, I don't know, like cheesesteaks
No.
from this place, or go get
Or
pizza
go to
at
a
this spot, or
movie.
go to the movie." Okay.
no. I was like Joe. I was local. It was always Bronx.
That's
So
so
what-
weird. Wow.
So what about you, Rob? What was like your
You
where would you guys
Corvo,
go out to
you're
eat?
gonna like this. You're gonna like this
Yeah,
one.
because you're in the Bronx, man. There's probably some good stuff there.
You know what I'm doing here? Yeah, it was Italiano. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, nice.
Frankie and Johnny's and Pine Tavern. You guys familiar with this place?
No,
This place
no.
is
That's one thing being
one
from
of the best
Brooklyn.
Italian. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not really. I wasn't aware of Staten Island to begin with, but I wasn't really too familiar with the Bronx other than Yankee Stadium. Like I've
Why
only,
would you? Right? It's like so far away from where
No,
you are.
I mean,
Yeah.
but it really kind of isn't. And when you think about the whole scheme of the city, yes, it is far, but it kind of isn't. Like the only time I've ever been to the Bronx was to go to the old Yankee Stadium with my father, and
Okay.
that was it. Never really went anywhere else. And my father, he knew the city inside and out, and he didn't take us anywhere besides Brooklyn.
Yeah,
Well,
that's true.
isn't there maybe Rob, you know, there's like an Italian, like a very famous Italian neighborhood that's in the Bronx, right? They have a
Yes,
parade there.
Arthur Avenue.
Yeah, so like
yeah,
yeah, so I've gone there before, and
it's called Morris Park. Is the name of
I've
the
gone
neighborhood.
into the Bronx. Yeah, it is kind of interesting though that like maybe it's like a misconception people have, like because you guys grew up in the city, you grew up in the Bronx, you grew up in Brooklyn, but like it wasn't like there's a difference between growing up there versus like being an adult there, because like you kind of stayed in your neighborhood still. Your
Yeah.
neighborhood was in the Brooklyn, but like it wasn't like your like did you hop on the subway a lot as like, you know,
Nah,
teenagers and elementary school, middle school?
no.
Only
Yeah.
until college.
Yeah, so it really wasn't probably that much different than like where I grew up. Maybe there's more streets, like you can go to the corner store, maybe there's like some street food and stuff like that, but it wasn't like you had the whole city that you could like hop on a subway by yourself and like, I don't know, you're from Brooklyn and you're like, I'm gonna go up into the Bronx. Like, no, you're still
No,
kind of
man.
like, no, you have to stay between these areas. This is where you're allowed to be.
Yeah, my parents were pretty strict when I was growing up. Because we
I mean,
lived
you went
so
to a Jesuit school, man. I was
I
like,
know,
yes.
man. Because we lived so high up. Basically, they wanted to be able to see me and my brother from the window. If we couldn't go, well, I mean, it's a big radius still, but
Yeah, true.
but if they couldn't see us from like the high perch, we couldn't. I couldn't go to Brooklyn when I was like 13. No way.
Mm-hmm.
No way.
I have
They
a
would just
question for you
go.
guys.
Yeah.
This is like a little off topic. What decade did you guys like more? It just popped up in my head. Did you like the 90s more? Or do you like the 2000s more?
I don't know if I have an opinion,
How? How's that possible?
because I'm still kind
2000s.
of like you, Joe, pre-COVID, where like I don't really dwell too much on the past. So like early like 2000s, I would probably say the 2000s
Mhm.
just because I'm older. That's high school. I had more freedom. I could
Mhm.
go do more things. Like
I thought that's where you would go.
we were a little bit more technologically advanced. So like
I
think about the
mean-
movies, like The Matrix came out. That like
Yep.
blew my mind when that
Mhm.
came out.
Great
Blade
movie.
came out. I was like, what the hell is going on? Like
Oh,
the
the
special effects were going like
Blade is
so
sick.
cool. And I was just, you know, I was at the hint of being an adult. So probably that was when But then again, it's just like I remember it more than I remember the 90s.
Okay,
I was born in
that's
'86, so
fair. I
the
was gonna
90s,
say,
it's like I'm like 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm a kid.
okay. I just feel
I
like
like the 90s better.
I feel like with the 90s, it's a bit more subdued. Like
Oh
coming up,
yeah,
like
yeah.
we're coming off a recession. I feel like it's a bit more. Everything was a bit more not as bombastic as like
It
the
was innocent.
2000s.
I think the
Yeah.
90s were a very innocent time. I mean, because of our age, but also
Mhm.
I think think about 2000s, 2001, World Trade Center goes down.
Mhm.
Then we are in wars as a country for the next up until recently, right? We have another recession. We have like the housing
2007,
crisis,
2008.
The
Yeah.
mortgage
right?
crisis. Yeah.
So there's a lot of things. Like it's definitely was a more trying time.
But I feel like as a kid or like the 2000s, I don't think there was like a better time because we we had the internet then, but it
Oh yeah,
wasn't so crazy as it is now. So we could go on internet message boards and like talk
AIM,
to each
yeah,
other and or MySpace and all these other different things. It's just I feel like it's a bit more advanced in the 90s.
yeah.
We could interact with each other more and in better ways, and everything was an event. I feel like we just to circle back to like being able to experience things with mass amounts of people. I feel like the
Yeah.
2000s, everything was just more heightened. We can experience things with each other more so than we could in the 90s.
So I want to say, like, just to piggyback, I know, Rob, you got something queued up.
Yeah.
I think though part of that might, from my perspective, because I think I was thinking about this the other day, like that also might be age really, like, because I don't get excited about things. Like, when was the last time you got excited? And like
Okay.
I think like for myself, like that might be like when I was younger, like I got excited. So like the 2000s, it's like, was I just younger? So like I kind of like got excited about things and that's the 2000s and I get excited. Not in that way. Well, maybe
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah, I was going to say, when
Ho
was the last time you went on a
ho.
date?
Oh my
Uh,
god.
but no, like, do you look forward to like the future? Like when you were 2000, you looked
Uh,
forward to like this whole future life that is just like in your mind. Now you're kind of living that life,
Mhm.
and I mean, I do think that's one aspect of getting older. Like you're kind of in the future, like, and you
Mhm.
stop, like, you're not looking 20 years in the future anymore because 20 years from now you're going to be like 60, right? Whereas when you're 18, you're looking 20 years in the future because you're like, that's when I'm going to be living it, right? So I do think like that's something I noticed that's different. Like when I think back, it's like I was hopeful, I was more hopeful, right? And now I don't think I kind of take a day at a time more now than
Yeah.
I did when I was a kid,
dude, I
or
think
even in like my late teenage years.
yeah, I think that's the right approach though. That's called wisdom.
I mean,
That's what I'm saying.
maybe.
Yeah.
But also, I think it's like when you look at our age, you don't want to look 10 years into the future. 10 years of the future, you're 50.
Yeah.
20 years in the future, you're 60, right? You know what I mean? It is a little bit different when you're 15 and you look 10 years, you're 25 and you're like, oh shit, like I'm going to be in it, right? So I think
Yeah.
that as almost as a safety measure, you're like, I'm going to look like a year into the future, maybe.
Yeah. I wish I had I mean, it's
Yeah.
paradoxical to
To your
say
point,
this.
wisdom,
I
like, yeah.
wish I had my knowledge now when
Yeah.
I was 18.
Yeah.
It's impossible to have.
Now,
Like,
if you could go back, this this is kind of nostalgia too. Like, if you could go back
I
to
think
like,
this is one of Joe's questions.
Mhm.
oh, is it? Oh,
Yeah.
okay, sorry. Okay,
No,
so
go.
if you could go back to your 14-year-old self, and or even like go younger, where you're gonna have to go through like teen years and the ups and downs of that. Go back to like 13, right? And live through like some of the trials of that time period, but with the knowledge you have now, would you do it?
Ooh.
I would.
So you're still going to have to go through puberty. You're going to maybe get pimples. You're going to have
Yeah.
growth spurts. You're going to go through that. But like in your mind, you're like, okay, like I know, like I can take back all this
I don't
wisdom.
think I would want to be 13.
Like
College, yes.
Well, yeah, I mean, come on now.
Yeah, I would go back to college.
I would go back.
You'll get to college eventually.
Yeah.
You just gotta have to
Rudy
work.
Mara, baby.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah, it's Rooney, Aubrey, Stephanie, Germanota. We know.
Okay.
You know who it is. Yeah. I would go back. I would go back to college. 13? No, I wouldn't do it, Chris.
What are you,
It's
Joe?
too young.
I would definitely go back.
Nah.
This one, just to re-experience some things, and then two, to see if I was smart enough to do things differently back then. I would do it.
I would do
I would
it.
change some things. Yeah.
I would definitely do it. If
But
that was
you-
like, huh?
What couldn't you change at 18? At 13? 13, you really.
By
are
18, you're
still
kind of
the-
saying
You're
I, want,
still the.
I want to go back to when like I'm in college and I have all my wisdom. Yeah. But that's like there has to be a downside to this experiment. Otherwise, it's a net positive. Who wouldn't go back to 25
All right,
with
I
the
see what
knowledge
you're
of
saying now.
40 if all of your bad like choices you've made?
Yeah,
Mhm.
but
Me-
where I
I-
disagree with
Even
you is
Jeff
when you're
Bezos would go back probably.
Yeah.
Well,
fair.
but if I said, "Hey, you got to go back to being 9 or like 11, and you got to like go back to high school, and you got to like do chores, and you got to be the awkward kid in school,
fair.
right?"
All
Then
right.
it's like, is it worth it? I still think it would be worth it.
I think it
'cause
would be.
I would be like, all right, I'm plotting my empire at 13 or something.
Yeah. All right. So
As-
if
As I'm
those
having
are,
growth spurts, I'm like, oh, son of a
if
gun.
those are the parameters,
Yeah.
then yes, I would go to 13. But the reason I don't want to go back to 13 is that's when you're fully dependent on.
Yeah, no,
your parents.
100%. It would
I
suck.
have no freedom. It
Yeah, you'd be
sucks.
like 40 and like
Yeah.
a 13-year-old body. Like,
yeah,
damn it.
this be awful.
Yeah, correct.
So
Yeah,
so
who would it? It's like who wouldn't
Yeah.
go back to being
all right,
25?
yeah, there needs to
Like,
be some jeopardy involved.
Come
Yeah,
on.
fair enough.
you got to pay the boatman.
Yeah, exactly. So speaking of, I think you nailed it earlier. Pause. So there's the what was your first screen name? You said
Oh man.
Messenger.
Oh,
What was your
dude, do
first?
I even remember my?
Yeah, I don't
first
remember
screen
mine.
name?
You remember yours?
I do.
What kind of craziness is this?
I'm not surprised, man.
I do.
Wait,
It was all sold out 94, but sold like sold, not sold like
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
sold
yeah.
something. All
So you're all
out.
sold out,
Out 94.
dude.
Oh,
I
Based
mean,
on yeah,
Based on
Bobby's
what?
eclectic, man.
Pete
I'm
Rock,
not
Peter.
surprised.
yeah, Pete Rock and CL Smooth.
Oh my god.
They're a rap duo. Yeah, Pete Rock is one of my favorite producers. He's better than Timbaland.
Hey,
So I'll tell you
hey,
that right now.
shut your mouth.
He's better than Timbaland.
Shut
I'll
your
tell you
damn
that
mouth.
right now.
There's no fucking way.
Yes, facts. Pete
Timbaland,
Rock or
Tim-
Timbaland? Are you mad?
Timbaland had
is-
much. He had more range. He could do any genre.
He's not
Pete
doing
Rock-
soul beats, is he?
He's
He's not all sold out.
He is
he?
doing now. He is doing now. Which,
Is he?
Yeah, it's not that great.
The Justified album is pretty good.
But even
Yeah.
then, he could do rock. He could do pop. He even did like country. Like he could.
I'm
He can
not
do
saying Timbaland is bad. I'm taking Pete Rock. though.
Oh,
Just
God.
saying he's good.
So yeah.
All right. Well, here.
So
as
that
we,
was that
go
was
ahead.
my first screen name. You guys don't remember?
I don't remember.
So
Yeah, there's no way I
give-
remember.
Give me a screen name.
I can't because
I
I still
can't
use some
either.
of these, man, and some
I
of these
can't
different
I don't.
venues.
I don't even remember what my MySpace was.
Oh, I never
No
had
clue.
MySpace.
I never had
Never
MySpace.
had it, never
I
had
had.
Young
I
Bucks.
started Facebook.
Yeah.
That was my.
I mean, it
entry.
is kind of interesting. There's like a 4 year. Well, no,
Mhm.
you're
41.
So,
So about 4 or 5 year difference between us.
right, so-
no, not that many.
Okay,
years,
so
dude.
maybe-
We're
okay,
like
3
39.
4
It's
years.
like- It's like a 4-year.
But it is kind of
3
interesting.
years.
Like,
Yeah.
let's say even within 3 years, right?
Mhm.
Like MySpace was a thing. 3 years later, it wasn't
Yeah,
a
it's
thing.
gone. Yeah.
Like, so Facebook was when I was in college. Facebook came out because I mean I think Mark Zuckerberg is around our age.
Mm-hmm.
So like I remember being in college because you had to be in college to get on Facebook
You had to be in an Ivy League school first,
Mm-hmm.
first, and then I mean you need
and then it expanded.
you need to be you need to be in college because you need to have a college email address.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is kind of interesting. Like even within the 3 years, like people use MySpace. It was big, and then 3 years
Gone.
later, it's like the new thing. So here this is my question to, or go ahead, and then I'll give you the final question.
One more thing. What were you guys wearing in the 90s?
Oh
What
my
were you
God.
rocking?
90s?
What were you rocking in the
Bro,
90s?
I'll throw out a couple
I
fashion
don't. You know what?
things.
I don't think that's a fair question because
Why?
we didn't have control over our clothes in the 90s.
No, I can make requests.
Yeah, I would
can
say
make
that
Yeah.
there was a
Wow.
point, late 90s, early yeah. So I'd say at one point, guys, I had spiked hair. At another point, I had dyed blonde tips for my
You
spiked
got
I
the
can
frosted,
see that.
hair.
the frosted tips.
I
yeah.
can see that. You're going
I
Lance
had
Bass.
an earring at
Exactly.
one point.
Oh my!
I
God.
could also see that too.
I definitely have a memory of wearing. I think we started doing the jeans, but we'd fray the bottom of the jean. That became kind of a style.
Oh,
Yeah.
What else did we wear back in the day?
What kind of t-shirts? Graphic tees, like band.
I went through that phase, but I think I was more like Joe. Like early
a
on,
plain
I
t-shirt.
stopped wearing like brand, like visible brand
brands,
stuff.
just a plain t-shirt. Yeah. Joe,
And then I got turned on to thrift stores very early, so I was starting to scope out like
that's
nicer
that's
clothes, but like I'd buy them from like TJ Maxx
Secondhand.
or like a thrift store.
Yeah, secondhand merchants ain't bad.
That's where it's at, man.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, Joe. I'm curious.
Joe is wearing you were wearing Nike.
Oh,
Ralph
I actually
Lauren.
always-
I picture Joe looking like a like a Muslim guy, like with a bow tie and a suit, like his mom, and like his son.
At what
him and his
age?
brother.
You know what? At some point,
Definitely wore a bow tie in your youth.
when
Like
we're
Brother
done,
of his own. Watch
when
your
we're done with
brother
this
is-
recording, or maybe later on in the weekend, I'm going to show you a picture of my my communion. I did have like a white bow tie, white gloves.
Yeah, I'm picturing it. White.
No, it is a black suit, but I had a white
okay.
bow tie,
Dang,
white
dude.
gloves on. It was the whole nine.
Yeah, you definitely were like a little brother Mazone.
Yeah.
But yeah, how did you dress as like
I didn't
12,
have-
13, 14 years old?
Didn't have a choice back then. It was
what did
really
your
more.
mom? What did she put you into?
More like regular blue jeans and regular white shirt. It wasn't until like going to college when I actually started to buy like print shirts. Like I had this one shirt that I wore
You were rocking a Prince
forever.
shirt.
No, like
Purple Rain?
no, not Prince. Although I do love Prince, like print, Print.
Yeah, okay.
Oh,
like,
Prince.
yeah.
Okay.
I always had this like Ralph Lauren, like Dead Rabbit shirt or some like old history Ralph Lauren shirt that I had. I had the Big
Nice.
Yeah,
Pony
your mom dressed you
polo.
well.
No, but that was when I had autonomy to,
Okay,
to
you
do
picked
it.
those clothes.
Yeah.
But when I was a kid, I just had just regular polo shirts, or not even Ralph Lauren, just some like generic thing,
Okay.
or some regular like T-shirt. I didn't have anything fancy or anything memorable.
All right.
back
Well,
then.
then here, let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
Then this ties into what your question is, Rob, and we'll cap it off with this.
Yeah.
Like, what is when you had autonomy?
Mhm.
What is one fashion choice you made that, looking back, is immensely embarrassing? So I already said it, man. I had blonde hair. I had my mom pull my hair through this cap and dye the tips blonde. Definitely don't want to ever see one of those pictures.
It's horrible.
Right.
Absolutely.
I lived with that
horrendous.
for a time period. Another was not my fashion choice. I also I don't even want to say this on air. I had a tail. Like my mom, for whatever
like a
reason,
rat
when we
tail?
were kids, me and my brother had a little braided tail. I don't know what she was thinking. That was not me though. But the blonde hair.
So that's
tip,
what I'm saying. You didn't.
that
have
was
any.
me. I
Okay.
chose to dye my hair blonde.
I'm curious why the tips though.
Dude, I don't know. I think I was watching a cartoon and the guy had a hairstyle I liked, and I was like, I want that. My mom was cool because she was kind of like, she did not care.
That's
If
crazy.
if we wanted to do something,
I did not have that.
she did not like it. Did not bother her at all. Like if we wanted to get get your ear pierced, she's like, yeah, it's fine. Let's go get it pierced. All right, but what about you? So like, what is a fashion choice you made
That's a good question.
in like your teenage years, early college, that you're like, I can't believe I did that?
I used to rock earrings too, but they
I
weren't
could see
ribbed. But that's not. I'm not even actually embarrassed by them. It was cool back then.
Yeah, you had
They
the
might come
diamond
back.
studs, man.
I bet you the diamond studs come back.
I don't think it ever went away, man.
I think people are
Yeah.
still rocking it.
If anything, more so.
It was like the super baggy.
Yeah. Same
clothing.
for me. I had this super baggy Rockaware
exactly.
black shirt. It was I don't. It's like wearing a dress. I don't understand why I did that. I don't know how you did it.
Yeah, I rocked like the foot. I would get like 4 XLs, Sean John t-shirts. Dude, it's just so stupid. Yeah. And then remember, Joe? Remember the NBA and NFL gear with all the team patches?
I
I
didn't like
terrible.
that.
That was terrible too.
I didn't like that.
I mean,
that was baggy. Was the style? Like I remember that. I dressed baggy. You wore the baggy ass jeans, like that. You should have no reason to be wearing, right? Like it was that was
with women. Yeah, that's a style. Like a lot of younger women in their 20s are wearing the baggy stuff.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's coming back right now. You're seeing girls are doing it. Yeah. Like that was not a girl style back when we were kids, but now, like I went to a family function and like my cousin who's our age and her 2 daughters who are like freshman years in high school, they all had the same pants on, and they were wearing jeans I wore essentially when I was like 14. And I looked at it and I noticed, I was like, dude, that was my style when I was 14 years old. How did that make the transition from gender? I don't know. How did it come back? But essentially, it's the same outfit.
Yeah.
So anyway, any final thoughts on this nostalgia? This was good. I'm glad that you brought this up.
No,
Joe.
this is good. There's a lot of things we didn't hit. We might need a part 2.
We definitely need a part 2. I want to see because you have a whole fucking composition notebook filled with stuff. I need to go through these.
We got to talk about the collectibles that we had from the 90s.
That's another one. That actually might be a fun episode in and of itself. Just collectibles, because like, dude, people collect weird things. I'd be kind of curious to know.
Much cool shit.
To know what you guys have collected over the years.
Yeah, I have so much cool.
It'll help us know what type of hoarder you will become in the future.
Exactly. and like partying in high school, which I didn't do. I didn't drink or smoke until I got to college.
Which is funny because for me, I partied more like the last 2 years of high school than
that's what I want to talk about that at some point.
That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
By college, I kind of was like, I did it, but it wasn't like I just checking a box off. I didn't really do it that hard. High school, we were out and about being a little wild.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So that is interesting that there's that flip there.
Wow.
Yeah.
But ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning into this episode. Hopefully we kind of triggered one of your long lost buried memories. Maybe you have
hit the subscribe button and hit the like button. Yeah.
There's an outfit that you have forgotten and that we've dredged from the deep darkness of your past life, and maybe you'll decide, hey, let's try this style back out again.
And go out and listen to the White Stripes and wear a Rockaware shirt.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, have a happy Friday, great weekend, and we will catch you again next week.
Peace out.
Peace.